Hi, I'm Amanda and you're watching The Reading and Writing Life. Today's video is all about the books I've read in the last couple of weeks, but it's also a little bit special. Today is Mother's Day, and so what I did was I called my mother and I asked her to recommend some books for me. She's having some trouble with her eyes, and so she hasn't been reading as many books recently, and she actually said to me that she hasn't found any books that she's really liked in the last few years, and I was like, we need to fix that. So I'm on a mission. If anybody knows, based on these books that she said are her favorites, I read them, and I would like to know what you recommend for my mother to read to get her back to enjoying reading again. I did these reviews in the same way that I always do. If you're new here, I just make a clip with my review as soon as I'm done reading the book. So here they are. Get ready for some weird hair, some tired eyes, and some really good books. And happy Mother's Day. So I decided to contact my mother, and here is what she recommended that I read. I have finished one of them. She really wanted me to read the first book in the series, but there's a little novella that kind of kicks everything off, and so I'm starting with that. And it is called First Case. I mean, that's a good name for it. A McRyan Mystery, because the detective's name is Matt McRyan. His middle name is Mackenzie. Like, there's a lot of mix in that name. And so his name is Mac McRyan, and he went to school to be a lawyer. Everybody in his family is a policeman, or tons of people in his family are policemen, including his dad, who was a detective. And Mac decided he didn't want to do that. He went to law school, and while he was in law school, actually, he had already graduated, and he was literally about to go to work for a firm that was hiring him. And two of his cousins, who were police officers, got killed on duty. And he realized that he should have been a police officer. Like, he can do more good working as a policeman. And so he did. But we don't see all that part. That's him at the very beginning, just discussing like how he got to where he is now, which is working his first case as a detective. So we meet him when he's a detective with the police department. And so he has a new partner, and he's solving that case of his first case, and also dealing with some stuff at his house with his wife. So I thought that it was really good. It was only like 80 pages or something like that, so it wasn't that long, and I read it on Kindle, but I think I'm gonna listen to the first book on audio, and so that will be the two books that were suggested by my mother. I'm gonna see if she has another book that she suggests. This one was from the 100 books to read before you die, from Bookish Realm, Ashley at Bookish Realm, and this is just the next one on the list. So this one actually took me a minute to find, because so I asked her to pick a number 1 through 100, and the number she picked was Charlotte's Web, and I was like, I've already read that. So I asked her to pick another one, and the one that she picked was a graphic novel, and I want to read those on Kindle. And since I already have a Kindle book going, this was for my audiobook, and I already have a Kindle book going, so I picked another number. And then she gave me The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. And I'm going to read you the first line of the description so you won't think I'm giving away any spoilers, but it says, Lee Chen Sanders is absolutely certain about one thing. When her mother died by suicide, she turned into a bird. And that is pretty much what the story is about. Lee is half Taiwanese, half Asian and half white, they said. Her maternal grandparents are from Taiwan, and so her mother is from Taiwan, or was from Taiwan, and she's never met her maternal grandparents. And when her mother dies, she takes a trip to Taiwan and learns. I mean, I learned so much about Taiwanese culture just from this book, and it's not a nonfiction book, but they just go and explore so many sites that were important to her mother, and therefore we just learned about the culture there from reading this book. I really liked it. I like that part of it. My favorite part, of course, the name of it is The Astonishing Color of After, and that gives you an idea that color plays a part in this. Lee is an artist, and her and her best friend say to each other, "What color are you?" like meaning, how are you feeling? Because everything is in color. So, and then they'll answer each other based on how they're feeling. Like, I'm going to use green to mean envy, but that's not one of their colors. They're much more creative in the colors that they use to tell each other. But anyway, this book it's got some magical elements in it. We go back to the past. We come back to the present. It is an exploration through grief. This girl dealing with her mom's death and the things that led up to it and the things that she had no idea about. And she thinks that she keeps seeing this red bird and it is her mother. And so she's trying to catch the red bird because she feels like there's something her mother needs to tell her that she will tell her once she can catch this bird. And so that premise and what I told you, you might expect that it's going to be sad and depressing. And I've never felt that at all. Like the whole book just feels hopeful to me. And even when she's dealing with hard things and going through hard things, she just realizes that this is what she has to do. Like she just goes to the next thing and does the next thing and the next thing. And there's not any of this, I'm giving up or whatever. But it was just really, really good. Her dad seemed like a real person, you know, dealing with grief and family dynamics and a culture outside of his own, but a culture that he knows a lot about. Like he was already majoring in, I think, Chinese studies or something in college when he met her mom. And so it's a culture that he is, I was going to say an expert in. He knows a lot about. I mean, he teaches about it and everything, but he's not from that culture. So watching him interact with her grandparents and the way he handles all of it, and then her best friend, whose name is Axel, and he's kind of an artist, but also more of a musician than a like painting artist. But the kind of stuff that he does sounds really cool. And so anyway, she's just dealing with a lot of stuff, but she has a pretty good support system. She is, for a period of time, left in Taiwan with people that she can't quite communicate with. She only knows a little bit of Mandarin and she knows no Taiwanese, but her grandparents don't know any English. So she's a little bit stuck there, but for most of the time she has some help. So that's all I'll say about that. And yeah, I don't want to say anything else to give any more of it away, but it's listed as a young adult contemporary, and it definitely is, and magical realism, a little bit of fantasy. It's just really good, and I would recommend that anybody read it. It's a really great book. Okay, it has been a few more days, but I finished another book that my mother recommended and then a couple of more books. So I'm going to squeeze these all in this Mother's Day video. So bear with me. I have 3 books to talk about. The first one may be my favorite book so far this year. I don't know. It's at least in the top 3 books of this year, and I'm going to look over here to read it. It's called Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. And it's considered a middle grade fantasy. It's so good. I read it because, again, I'm going to talk about Bookish Realm. Ashley at Bookish Realm suggested this in her list of 100 books to read before you die, and I had it on hold at my library, and it came up, and so I read it, and I read it on audio. It was so good, so good. Amari is a kid she's a teenager, living with her mom, and she was living with her mom and her brother. Her brother has disappeared, and they don't know where he is or what happened to him. So she really wants to try to figure out what happened to her brother, and she keeps looking online and trying to post online. They don't have a lot of money. She's got like an old laptop that she's trying to use to like post and figure all this out, and she gets a mysterious package dropped off, and it says, you know, open this at midnight and that kind of stuff. And it's actually a message from her brother about a magical world. And so I'm not going to say any more about it, but it begins just a really big journey for her, learning about her brother and learning about herself and learning about people around her. There's twists. There's even like a betrayal that I did not see coming. And this is just book 1. And so I'm definitely going to be adding this author to my old author list to keep going. The next one that I read is back in my wheelhouse. One of my old authors. It's a romance called Lumberjacked by Annabeth Albert. And this is a romance. It's also a novella. It's not very long, but it's about a city called Rainbow Cove, and she has a whole series around them. I think this might be book 2.5 or something in this series. And so it's just about Rainbow Cove is an older town that's kind of was, I don't know, dying out. Doesn't sound like the right word to use, but it was just going down, I guess. And so somebody bought a new bar and they're trying to like bring more people to the area. And this guy, let me see, his name is Cam, and he has come to help his aunt who has some health issues. And he is a beauty blogger. Nope. He's a beauty vlogger, and they don't come out and say YouTube, but he has a YouTube channel where he does makeup and beauty tips and stuff like that. And then he meets Johnny, who is the lumberjack, hence the name Lumberjacked. And he actually is I don't know what it's called. He's a forester guy? I don't know. Forestry? He does forestry, I guess. Anyway, and so he meets him, and because he's come over to cut down some trees for Cam's aunt. And he offers to take some pictures of him while he is tied up. Apparently that's like a thing that Johnny does. And so he gives him his business card. He's like, it's legit. I'm not trying to just hit on you, or I'm not trying to hit on you. So, come over and try it if you want to try it, do whatever. So anyway, like I said, it's a novella, and so it's insta love, which it pretty much has to be. But Cam goes over, and Johnny takes some pictures, and he really likes them, and then he's like, okay, well, you can come back anytime you want. And so he does, and immediately they fall in love. But it was just a cute little short novella, and it's about Rainbow Cove. So we got to meet some more people who live there that we saw in previous books, and that was nice to catch up with the people from the previous books. So anyway, a nice little novella, but I would start with book 1 if you want to read that kind of romance. The last one is my mother's recommendation, and it is, again, by Roger Stelljes, which is I talked about the novella not too long ago, like to kick off the series. And so it's the same thing. It's still about the same guy. His name is Mac McRyan, and he is a detective with the police force. And this one is called The St. Paul Conspiracy. And it just is a more in-depth story about a case that he has to solve. This I liked a lot. Like, it was not just your normal mystery where you find out the mystery at the beginning and then you kind of go through the book and you pick up clues and you think you've solved it and then you really haven't, and then you kind of go, all this stuff. There is the case that Mac is working on with his partner, which is a murder case. And then the other people in the department are working on a serial killer case. And they solved the serial killer case about halfway through the book. And I was thinking, well, now what are we doing? First of all, Mac's case gets solved really early. And then the serial killer case gets solved about halfway through the book. And we know some things that Mac doesn't know. But what they all find out is that's not the end. And maybe the cases are linked. And maybe there's somebody that's kind of pulling the strings on all of this. And so it was just really good. It was different, like I said, from the original, here's a mystery, solve the mystery. At the end, you solve it. And so I really liked that it was different and unique. And he for sure has been moved over to my old author list. And now every time I read them, I get to call my mama and say, hey, I just read the one where this happens. And then we get to talk about it. So that's it for this video. If you liked any of the books, or if you've read them or want to read them, leave a comment down below and let's talk about them. As always, I would like to do a buddy read. If you want to do that too, let me know and we will set something up. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.